Welcome to the Mizell Show.
An inspiration for a new generation.
Hi, I'm Alanna Mizell, a loving mother of two, a devoted wife to Stephen, and an entrepreneur helping women realize their dreams and potential.
And I'm Stephen Mizell, caring father of two, a devoted husband to Alanna, and a driving force to help young men prepare for life after college football.
And if that wasn't enough, we're a biracial couple.
She was raised in the North, but I was raised in the South.
The only thing normal about our lives, who am I kidding? It's never normal around here. Join us for the Mizell Show.
Right now.
Hello.
It's Alanna. She's on 1010 today, people, so it's going to be
Excuse me, I feel like you just targeted me.
Nope. I mean, like,
I feel like you are targeting me.
Every week, it's something different from both of us. Sometimes you carry the show. Sometimes I carry the show.
I always carry the show.
Wow. So clearly, I'm just a producer.
I mean, if I'm the talent, I'm the talent, baby.
Wow. All right. We are back on the Mizell Show.
Oh, my Atlanta.
And we have survived summer.
I'm a survivor.
See what
I'm not going to give up.
Yeah,
I'm not going to stop.
everything I say, she's probably going to loop it into a song.
Harder.
But
that
no.
happened yesterday. You
What?
said something while we were baking. Well, I was baking. You were giving me the ingredients. I was baking and I randomly thought of a song. Oh, no, I can't remember it.
Oh, Eric Hutchinson, It's Okay, All Right. I don't know where that song
yeah.
came from. You just kind of started rolling with it.
Yeah.
Yes.
We
So
needed it.
we are back on the Mizell Show, and like we always do, to do a quick recap of what is going on. So, Alanna, what are you reading, or what have you read?
Okay. I just finished. Actually, had my Goodreads up. I was prepared.
Prepare for the show, like talent should be, people.
Not ready, prepared.
She's a good producer.
I'm a talent.
But the producer
I have a good
gives
producer.
Haven't you watched the morning show? Like, those girls be nothing but the producers. I don't know. The producer's kind of crazy. Yeah, it's kind of.
Pretty sure their producer got in a lot of trouble.
A lot of scandal. This is true.
Wow.
Great show, though.
Please don't get any scandal. Okay. Back to the subject at hand.
What is Alanna reading?
Okay.
I think this is now a thing for us. Because, I mean, like,
Why?
I don't really read, but it's like, our podcast is like, what is Alanna reading? And so, like, this is like the segment where I have like a little music.
We need
playing.
to have one that's just like a 5-minute clip of what is Alanna reading.
What is
I feel like
Alanna
there'd be
reading?
so much pressure for me to read more, though.
I don't mean pressure, but like,
Ooh,
what you're
if I
reading,
did it every
people-
other week and I had what is Alanna reading?
I mean, this is true. But no, you would be keeping up with what you're reading. So like
Keeping up with my reading instead of keeping
exactly.
up with the Kardashians?
Here we go. Okay, go ahead. So Alanna, what have you read? What have you been reading?
Okay. Well, I read a book called The Breakaway by
Yes.
Jennifer Weiner. And that's hysterical. The one that I just finished, I was like, I don't think I've ever read anything by her. I literally read 2 books ago, a book by her.
Yeah, that's true.
Meow. Okay. Anyway, The Breakaway is fantastic. So it talks about a cycling trip. But the one thing that I love about Jennifer Weiner is that she has strong female leads in all of her books.
Yes.
Are you trying to figure out which book is which?
No, yeah, they all look the same. But the key.
Bruh, no,
also,
they don't. This
key,
one's got a path on the front.
But the key with Jennifer is also she gives you when you read a book,
Yeah.
you sometimes automatically assume how the main character looks. But Jennifer does a good job of like making sure you realize this woman is not your typical person.
Yeah, okay. So she does a good job, depending on the book. There's 2 of them that I've read that she specifically articulates the physical makeup of the person.
Yeah.
So if you think about the Colleen Hoover movie just came out, It Ends With Us with Blake Lively in it. And the only thing that the book says is something like it insinuates that she has this red hair.
Reddish hair. Yeah, okay.
Reddish hair.
Yeah.
Other than that, it does not say she's tall, she's thin, she's beautiful, blah, but that, like you have no
and so
idea.
Most authors literally leave it to your imagination, and you just assume
They do, unless it's an integral, whatever that word is.
Important part of
an important part of the storyline.
Yes.
God, I'm gonna process that all day. I'll have to ask my boss. Anyway, so the thing about The Breakaway is that it's specifically a character that is generally mid-size and has struggled with body image issues her whole life.
Yes.
And how she's pushed and pulled on that in relation to her mom, society, etc.
Lovers, friends, all
Oh my
the
gosh,
whole
it's
thing.
so beautiful. I would say it's a 5-star book. Look at all these 5
It is a 5-star book, and so I, as I told you guys,
That's a
I don't
5-star.
I don't read, but well, I do read, but certain things. But Alanna does a great job of giving me.
I don't read.
Alanna does a very good job of giving me a Netflix recap of all of her books, and those books have been really good.
They've been on it.
The latest book that you just finished, I was all about.
Wait. There's a book in between.
What? It was?
Part of Your World by Abby Jimenez. I finished.
You did remember Part of Your World.
It's so good. But it's 3 parts.
Oh, yes.
There's 3, so I got to get number 2. But in between that, I read Summer Place by Jennifer Weiner. And let me just tell you guys how fast these books are. First of all, The Breakaway I read in 2 days. Part of Your World I read in 4 days. The Summer Place I read in 6 days.
But also, speaking of that, people, when you have a person in your life, significant other, whatever you want to call it, our entire family knows the joy that books bring to mommy. And so she's able to read because she can read that fast, but also it's something that we recognize. And we say, hey, let's let mommy dive into this book. Let's let mommy do. We see the joy it brings her. So it's not like she's reading the book and like shutting the world off. She's
No. Here's the other thing though. But there's a specific book, Barefoot by Ellen Hildebrand. I'm not a fan of her. I know that people love her.
Yes.
You guys, I just looked at my Goodreads and it told me that it took from February 12th of 2024 until June 13th of 2024 to read it.
You know, it did.
Like, that's how slow. If I don't like it,
Then the Hotel Nantucket, that's her too, right? You took you all out.
yeah, and I read that in under a month, but that's because I was like, I gotta read this.
Because you gotta get it done.
Right. You can tell based off how long it takes me to read if I liked it.
And our family time, giving mommy the reading time, dictates on how much she likes it.
For sure. When kids have rest time on the weekends, that's typically when I read.
Or in the morning with your coffee.
Yeah, I'll read a couple pages. Well, I say a couple. I read 25 pages this morning.
But it also
That's
depends on the
besides the
book. Like, we
Yes,
all
it does
know
depend
if
on the
it's
book.
a joy. Yeah.
The Summer Place was based in New England, New York, and Cape Cod. My love.
Yes.
I love Cape Cod. And it had a little Graham in it, which, if you know me in real life, you've probably heard me talk about my Graham, who I have her signature tattooed on the bod. And I was just kind of, my family's not the same as that family, but just like the nuances of it.
Yeah.
And I just could like see Connecticut, which just made it that much more wholesome. So for me also, I read self-help books as well. Those take me a little bit longer because I've read so many of them that, especially if it's a Brene Brown book, I can hear her talking to me.
Yeah.
And it's hard for me to dissect things that I have already heard or haven't already heard.
Yes.
But my escape to the real world and kind of the turmoil that's happening in my life or in politics, we're going to leave that right there, is to read some rom-coms and pretend like I'm in Cape Cod with my Graham. So
This is true.
that's how I power through them. So I would definitely suggest, if you're a rom-com loving girl,
Yes.
follow me on Goodreads, because you can see how many rom-coms I've read. So
Yeah. I totally agree with that.
Yeah.
But so the books that she's read have been like tremendous, so good, so glad that she's enjoying
Have you
them.
read anything?
No, I mean I've been reading up on like Apple News and other stories.
No, I was just asking in general. Are there any articles?
Nothing good recently. I don't
Nothing
think.
worth notating.
Nothing was notating, but we have watched some good shows. Of course,
Yeah.
we've been watching the Olympics. Olympics were great.
Yeah.
We've enjoyed it. Everybody's watched the Olympics. Hope you guys have enjoyed the ebbs and flows of it. But you went to see the movie for Colleen Hoover.
Yes.
Really enjoyed that.
It was great. It wasn't, the book went further in depth on building each individual character. I would say if you have not read the book, be prepared for an emotional roller coaster.
Okay.
I knew what was going to happen, and it was
Yeah.
an emotional roller coaster. My friend who went with me hadn't finished it, and come to find out, she was in the first 16th of the book.
Yeah.
And so she goes, this is where I stopped. And I was like, bruh, we've been watching for like 10 minutes.
So, question for you: who is the demographic for this movie? Like, was it a bunch of like? Was it like guys and girls on dates? Was it like women, girl dates there? Like, what was the population?
Both.
It was both. Okay.
I was surprised at the number of males that were there.
Oh, okay.
I was actually sitting next to a guy that read the book.
Oh, awesome.
Which I thought was fascinating.
Yeah.
And he was there with his wife. Like, I think that she read it and he probably read it after.
And then they kind of watched the movie. Yeah.
Because although it's a rom-com,
Mm-hmm.
it's not. It's like a rom mystery. It has a lot of life
Ebbs and
in
flows
it.
plots.
And
Okay.
I think that's why Colleen Hoover is so well known now, is because she got really popular during COVID and helped to articulate problems that were happening in individual lives and kind of an escape to these characters when people were facing some of the hardest things in their life
Yeah.
that nobody knew the solution to. And she had already written the large majority of these long before COVID came out. So people could binge read on her and on these issues through, at home.
At home.
Yeah.
No, I think so.
Yeah.
And other two things before we hop in today's episode. We finished Presumed Innocent on Apple TV. Such a good show. If you have Apple TV, Presumed Innocent was phenomenal. It was a very 6-episode, no season 2, really good miniseries drama, was phenomenal. And we started Apple Falls from the Tree. What's it called? Apples.
Oh my gosh, I forgot we started that.
Yeah, Apples Never Fall, and it is so far saucy. But yeah, those are the two shows we're watching. But as we kick off the beginning of the show, the Mizelles have survived summer. This year, with
I had to bring it back.
Of course, this year with our work schedule, many of you know we do work from home, and our kids are of age where if you plan out a schedule, i.e. Alanna planned a schedule out, phenomenal. Shouts out to her, Pinterest, Etsy, whoever.
Shouts out to her, like, I'm not right here.
Yeah, I'm gonna give you shouts out. Like, she had
It's
our
like
kids.
I'm going to listen to it. Shouts out to Sally. Happy birthday. It's just so funny.
I guess it's funny.
It's funny.
And so Alanna had our kids on a schedule this
I
whole
really
summer.
don't like that you don't laugh at me anymore because that
I do
was
laugh
funny.
at you, but I don't know what it was from though, so I can't laugh at something I don't know.
No, I made it up.
Oh, that makes it even more funny. Okay, I thought it was like another movie or TV show quote. That's why I kind of paused, like I don't know what you're talking about. But we were able to survive this summer based on Alanna's scheduling. And I would say this: our kids were like super troopers. That was a movie. They were awesome.
We're never going to make it through.
Yes, we will.
We are almost 12 minutes in. And we
But hey, they know
nothing but books.
books and life, and that's what people tune in.
Oh my
they tune
gosh,
in to
my
hear the
abs
talent.
hurt. My abs hurt from laughing.
Your
so
abs
hard.
are hurting from what?
That's because
laughing.
I worked them out so good right then.
So they're just tight.
They're just
so tight.
a 6-pack. Watch out.
Oh my goodness. So
I'm joking.
with that being
I don't have a
said,
six-pack.
our kids started school. Adele's in third grade. Adele's in third grade.
Adele's in 3rd grade. Briggs is in the grade.
Briggs is in kindergarten. And I wanted to ask Alanna this. This is the first time we decided as a family we weren't going to do like week-long summer camps. We did some sports camps here and there. They hung out with their grandparents here and there. But there was no like, let's put them in a camp. They were like here in Mizelle
the
camp.
same schedule every day. Yeah.
Almost every day. So one thing that Alanna tapped into that we felt like was a good investment when we bought it, but we weren't really sure until this summer, the Peloton. The Peloton has been life-changing.
We got a resale Peloton.
Oh, definitely resale.
Let's make that clear.
It was definitely resale. And it was still an investment.
It was. But this was after we had spoken to other friends who had a Peloton and gotten all the tea and the deets.
And the deets.
Yeah.
And so got a Peloton, and I believe this summer, Alanna
You can't be saying
survived.
phrases like that.
What
Song did I just think of? I believe. I believe in a thing called love. Just a really, really my heart. You're welcome.
I was thinking about that one.
What? Which one?
I believe I'm falling in love. I was thinking about that
I would have never thought of that. I was thinking of the Whitney and Mariah song.
I believe in you and me. That one. Okay, so clearly, what helped Alanna this summer and continues to help her is the Peloton. So how did the Peloton help you survive summer?
Well, speaking of music
And themes.
and themes,
Whitney.
yes, Whitney, etc. I think so I personally like Ally Love and Cody Rigsby. Why? Because they're constantly positive on the bike. More so, I'm an Ally girl. I'm an Ally Love Love Club. Well, I don't remember what the hashtag is on the
Yes.
Peloton thing. Because not only throughout her rides is she positive, but also interwoven is a story in relation to the music, or each set, say phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, has a different build point. It's just a really well thought out class that kind of intertwines into life.
Yeah.
And so music has always been, and we've done lyrical motivation. Music has always been an outlet for me, a way to articulate what I'm thinking and feeling, but don't have the capacity to do so or capability.
Yeah.
And even, you've probably heard me and Steven talk about, I will leave out chunks of details that I think I have said out loud, because in my head or in life, I feel like that's happened.
Yeah.
But what music allows me to do is fill in those gaps and kind of bridge one feeling with another, or even specifically when we talk about cycling. And I know people are like, oh, cycling in the face, blah, blah, blah. So with cycling, it is a low impact, so it doesn't have impact on your ankles and knees. And even when you get up off the bike and you're kind of running, on the bike, if you can kind of visualize it, not sitting down, you're not putting as much stress point on those joints, which is huge. I'm an old lady, and I had hip surgery when I was back in high school. So that plays a great part from a cardiovascular standpoint for me, because it does not mess up my hip. So that's like part 1. Part 2 is that anytime you're moving your hips in that kind of format, it's a somatic release. So when I say somatic release, and by the way, I am not a doctor, it's just from tons and tons and tons of research and a little bit of trauma in my life. Anyway, when you do different movements in relation to your hips, for women in particular, and men, it gives you a somatic release. So you may be holding tension or trauma in your hip joints, or extra strain that you don't even feel because it's subconscious and has been there for so long, that a lot of times, depending on music and movement in relation to your hips, it can actually release and trigger memories from previous trauma when you were younger, which I've done a bunch of research on that, and is so very true. One of the few forms of exercise that can do that, that is not specific stretches or kind of physical therapy movements designed for somatic therapy. Healing and wellness and motivation is huge for the Mizell Show. And recently we had New Day Healing and Wellness on the podcast. We are super, super excited to be able to offer you guys a discount code under the name Mizell. If you hop into New Day Healing and Wellness, you can go to Red Light, you can go to the sauna, you can do the salt booth. They have so many different things to offer, and we're just so excited for you guys to be able to experience some wellness of your own.
And that's something that, you've mentioned, and sometimes you don't understand what those motions can do until you actually get what they say, get in the saddle and you start riding. And I say this because we're not telling you to go buy a Peloton or go cycling. We're talking through, like, as you look at this next season, and as summer has kind of come to an end, or coming to an end for a lot of people, what was that one thing that really got you through it? So the cycling was great, but what about the music that helped you, Alanna, kind of go into a deeper realization of what you're going through, and also help you cope with some other things coming down the road?
Yeah. So I do just want to back up just a little bit.
Okay.
When we had originally picked cycling, it was a combination of not really being able to get to the gym, and my anxiety sometimes ebbs and flows. And so it was a peak anxiety moment in time, coming off of the holidays. I love the holidays. I would do them all year long. I love every single minute of the holidays.
Coming down from the holidays
is like the biggest depression typically for me. I crash. And so one of the ways this year that we kind of leaned into cycle, we looked at different avenues. So I've done Pure Barre before. I've done Orange Theory. Heavy weightlifting. I have a walking pad. All these things. I still love my walking pad. The times for Pure Barre are not great. Orange Theory does not bode well for women in their hormones unless they put them specifically into certain areas of cycle syncing, and probably never for people that have PCOS, which I have. So all of that kind of out, we picked the Peloton, and I would say it took me a little while to really get into it. And then come July 1, I just committed to myself. There were different classes that hit home more than others. You know, leaning into a Whitney Houston song. I mean, how can you not leave happy? When I had like an old 90s song ride, there were songs in there that reminded me of specific moments. And music has that ability. And there's a bunch of research that actually shows the cognitive release and the anxiety release and boost of serotonin and dopamine when you listen to music.
Yes.
So there are people that just do music therapy to evoke emotion and pull out, you know, we have a episode further back called Excavating Your Pain, to allow you to excavate out your pain through music, which is just a fantastic resource that I don't think we realize can be so powerful. But for me, it was, okay, committing to, I know I can do the bicycle. I know it's easy on my joints. All right, let's just try and figure that out. And then in July, I just decided to commit to myself to really hit a goal of being able to have the movement that I knew my body needed, but leverage the Peloton for how I did it.
Yeah.
So I've done, you know, making sure I hit my 10,000 steps walking before. And that's all well and good. But for this time of my life, I wanted it to be on the Peloton, largely in classes. Occasionally, I'll watch like a Netflix show, or I'll just process. That's a lie. I've never done that. But
you've processed before.
I've never just sat there without anything in my ears.
Oh, yeah, I'm thinking nothing. Yeah, exactly. I mean, you've had something going on. Yeah,
right.
Yeah, exactly.
You can do that. I cannot. I cannot just sit there.
I'm still doing things when I'm on it, though.
Yeah. So on top of that, within Allie's classes, she, depending on the class, she builds in different components. And so one of the things that I actually got preliminarily diagnosed with and then actually confirmed diagnosed with this summer was ADHD, which for a lot of people, actually a couple of my friends were like, wait, what? You're 34 and just got diagnosed with ADHD. Isn't that a kid's disease or kid's diagnosis? And I'm like, well, yeah, but for a lot of women that are older and a lot of perfectionist women and those that have dyslexia, so I'm dyslexic as well, the majority of people who have dyslexia also have ADHD.
And another person, wasn't Brene Brown also?
No, Mel Robbins.
Yeah, Mel Robbins. And
was
did somebody else that
diagnosed
yeah, Mel Robbins, yes.
even later than me in life.
Okay, yeah.
With
Adult.
adult onset ADHD. That doesn't mean that she didn't have it when she was younger.
Yeah, it doesn't mean...
That means that more than likely I did have it when I was younger. It just manifested differently. So I wasn't hyper, although you heard me very hyper on the beginning of this call. I wasn't necessarily hyper, but I fixate.
Yeah.
And then my brain runs 90-0 on different topics.
Yeah.
And that's how we kind of talked about earlier, how I leave out chunks of details, because in my head I've talked about it 14 times. I just never said it out loud. And I'll even sometimes say to Stephen, did I say out loud, blah, 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 blah. And sometimes he'll be like, no.
Nope.
And sometimes he'll be like, yeah, you've said it twice now. And I'm like, oh, well, that's lovely. So alongside the diagnosis, I feel like when you get diagnosed with something and have a title kind of put on you, you have two options. You can say, I'm Alanna Mizell and I have dyslexia, ADHD, anxiety, and depression. Or you can say, I'm Alanna Mizell. You have those options.
Yes.
Because when you get put a diagnosis on that's in your medical chart, you either have that define you or you define it.
Yeah.
So those are your options.
Yeah.
And so for a little bit, I was having it define me in trying to figure out, what does this mean? How does this change my life? Am I angry at my parents and my teachers who never saw it?
Yeah.
And then you have to kind of reconcile, how much knowledge did they have?
Yeah.
And then I've also been seeing the same therapist for nearly 4 years, and it took 4 years to determine that I have ADHD and that there was some miscommunication there. She thought I knew and was choosing to not be medicated for it. I didn't know and wasn't being medicated for it.
But how refreshing was it also when you actually went to the psychologist and she confirmed it? So before all this happened, Alanna was doing, again, when you have ADHD, like you said, you fixate. And she was down what people sometimes say the rabbit hole or the researching, trying to figure out how much are the tests cost? Who should I go to? Let's call all these places, do this. And it was so refreshing because we went to a new doctor.
New primary care.
A new primary care doctor. Awesome. Really enjoyed her. Good person. She said, also, by the way, we have a new psychologist that just started. And so just the way that God works and the universe works. We are checking out, and she's like, oh, by the way, we can go see her next week. Or was it a phone call we got from
It was
her?
a phone call. So I scheduled my
scheduled
appointment. It was supposed to be a month later.
Yeah, a month later. Yeah.
Like, I wouldn't have seen her yet, actually.
Yes. Okay, yeah, right. Okay.
And so then, and I was in a good mood that day. So I was talking to all the ladies up front, and I was like, hey, do you guys have a wait list for her or anything like that? And they're like, no, not yet. And because she was brand new. Like, had just started there.
And people were loving her.
Had just finished school in May, I think.
Yeah, she's brand new.
And so then I get a phone call, not even a couple hours later.
Before the phone call, though, I will say this, people. When you are striving for something, we, in the Mizell house, are very firm believers of move your feet while you're waiting.
Yeah.
And so before Alanna got that call, we had called 4 different places. We had been asking, people. We had been moving our feet to see. And, of course, that frustration period sets in. Like, okay, I'm just waiting. I'm constantly waiting. There's more tests.
And just nothing felt clear.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I'm also a big component. When I fixate so much, if it doesn't feel clear, I can't step into it yet. Like, I can't clarify my decision. Mm-hmm. And so I had been processing about me potentially having ADHD for
at least
since April.
Yeah, it's a while.
April.
Yeah.
So this is June, end of June at this point.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you guys are processing, that's quite a few months that I'm just stewing in it. And there were a few months there before I ever told Steven that I was reading medical journals about it. I really tried to not go to the social medias about it because every person is so different. So I'm a medical journal girly. And you're probably going to be like, wow, you're so nerdy. Yes, I am. But I also just nothing felt like it was the next step I was supposed to take.
Yes.
So I had seen a different psychologist, and I was like, mm-mm.
This seemed right.
And that was just about my anxiety and depression medication.
And we actually had reached out to that same psychologist, and they offered a test for you to pay for to see.
With a good bit of pushback after notating he thinks I have ADHD already. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so it was like, well, you mentioned that you thought it, which is what initially triggered the additional conversation in my head about should I get tested for it. And then my therapist was like, I thought you knew that you had it.
And then she gave recommendations.
And then she gave so it was just like, I feel stuck. When your house is so dirty that you just stare at it and you can't start, because if you start, you're going to jump around, but it's just easier to sit because it's just so overwhelming. That's how it felt. I was like, I am so overwhelmed with adding another diagnosis when what we've been working on for over almost 3 years now has nothing to do with anxiety, depression, and ADHD.
But it could correlate each other. Yeah.
They can. Yeah. But I thought I had that. Like, okay, bow on it. We know how that goes.
Yeah. And so with that being said, going back to, like you said, we move our feet. And she was moving her feet. She was researching. And we had actually called one place. And they were at lunch. We're like, all right, we'll call them after lunch. And then, out of the blue, psychologist.
I got a phone call from the primary care facility that has a new psychologist.
Yes.
And they had just had a cancellation the next day. And
so the next day she was able to go.
I was able to go, but also because the place that I work for knows and understands my mental health and knows and understands the place that I am in currently and specifically was in, that was like a non-negotiable. Like it really didn't matter what meeting I had that morning. Like I had to get to that doctor.
Her boss was very supportive in doing that. And I think to say all of this, going and meeting with the new psychologist, from the new primary care person or group, she reassured everything to you. And she also said, no, we are not paying for a test. I feel you, your research, your heartache is there, and let's work on a plan together.
Right. So she did have me take while I was there, we kind of talked through all the different things. And then I actually didn't write it down. There's a paper test you can take. And she just asked me a series of questions before we even started this thing. She goes, okay, I'm going to do a written assessment just so I've got notations of it.
Yeah.
And she's like, based off of so she also knows all about the Enneagram. I'm an Enneagram 3 wing 4. Based off of my Enneagram and my level of perfectionism and all the other things, she's like, I'm not going to have you take this because you are going to change how you answer the test. I was like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, sure.
And I was like, that's not fair. Because I would have made it so that I didn't have ADHD, whether naturally or not.
Yeah.
So she phrased the question so that I had to answer them in an open-ended answer and not just a multiple choice test. And that's also very common for specifically women that have dyslexia to try to overcompensate because they have a downfall in another area.
Yeah.
Very, very, very common. So what we found out is that I have subclinical ADHD and subclinical depression, meaning they are not the forefront of my issue. So if you're thinking about treatment, more times than not, you want to treat what is clinical. So what I have all the time is anxiety. Have it all the time. She don't go away. She just gonna hang out. Subclinical means when the anxiety gets worse, that's when the ADHD flares, and that's when the depression flares. If you think about spiraling and fixating, of course, if you spiral and fixate too much, and it could be we go to worst case solution, which is anxiety, it will then transfer into depression, depending on how long you spiral in that little system.
Yeah.
For example, so we were trying to figure out a couch for our house. That sounds pretty easy. We've been looking for a couch for 4 years. 4 years.
Yeah, something like that, yeah. 4
years. So I have thought in and out of 4 years about a sectional sofa. And little does Stephen know, I was thinking about it all the dang dong time. And so what that means is I then fixate. I look up all these different couches that are all over the internet constantly. When I have spare time, when I don't have spare time, I just fixate on it. Which then goes into this obsession about I'm not giving my kids what they need right now. And then I start to fixate on that, which is the ADHD component. And then it goes into all the different ways that I can make their lives better because they have a sofa. Yeah. Like when you say it out loud, it sounds insane, but I can guarantee that there are people that are listening to this and they're like, I do that all the time.
Yeah.
Okay. So then, because they don't have a sofa that's a sectional that they can snuggle with mommy and daddy on and watch the TV, and because I don't like to sit in the living room and watch TV out there with them, they're not going to be happy in life. So then I'm going to go into depression because I'm ruining my kids. Like, directly, the sectional ruins my kids' lives. Yeah. So that's the onslaught of having clinical anxiety, subclinical ADHD, and subclinical depression. And the subclinicals, so underneath that, just means those ebb and flow, depending on the time of year. So my depression ebbs and flows after the holidays.
Yep. Got the Peloton. Yep.
My ADHD may kick up and fixate because I know I'm going to be depressed, so I'm trying to make sure I'm not depressed. So let me research all these bikes. Let me make sure what's best. Is it too much money? Do we have the money? What if we don't have the money? What if I made the bad decision? Yeah. Okay? So there you go.
There you go.
There it is. So all of that to say, the Peloton has helped immensely because it helps to channel with music what I'm thinking or feeling and can pull me back to a specific time that I was listening to that song or help create moments with my kids or Steven or different friends and family members, but can also pull me to a time that I was able to excavate this pain or that pain. And there's a lot of stuff that the bike has kind of helped me unlock because I have those 30 minutes of music and somatic therapy that are slowly but surely unlocking different components of my childhood that I have not been able to in 4 years of intentional therapy. And then on top of that, what this psychologist chose to do, and everybody is different. So if if you're on an ADHD medication, you do you. If you're on a depression, anxiety, it all just depends what works best for you. Right now, I'm on a medication that goes towards my anxiety, but is also treated many times for ADHD. And that seems to be working well. It's just a God thing. So because I was able to get that appointment the following day, I have even seen her an additional time since then. We've upped my medication just a little bit by 30 more milligrams, and I see her again in a month. So I wouldn't have even been able to get through the point and be able to have the capacity that I now have had I not even asked the question, do you have another opening? Is there a wait list? Mm-hmm. And I truly think the level of kindness that you share with those that are support staff at doctor's offices and even your own offices, I truly think it changes the culture and the capacity for you to be able to get more aligned with what you're needing, because those people they're the keys to the castle.
Yeah.
And had I not joked around with them, I don't think I would have been the one that they thought to call.
No, I totally agree with you. And it's like so many nuggets in this episode and just so many things for people to kind of, think through, in terms to how'd you survive summer. You're looking at it from a standpoint of what is your outlet. Alanna and I have thoroughly embraced this Peloton, and it's been able to unlock many things in my life and then her life. And now with the growing relationship with the new psychologist. And then, the nugget piece of kindness. Kindness is so important for those people that you think are just servicing you or just there to get you to your next appointment or your next, thing in your workplace. But those people do have the keys to the castle. So, as always, the Mizell Show is greatly thankful for you. And you guys continue to tune in and continue to support us, and we support you. So, if you ever have any questions, any feedback for us, please reach out. And we hope you have an amazing day.
Yes. And if you're facing a diagnosis, just remember, you either decide if it defines you or you define it.
So if you guys are enjoying this, definitely leave us a review. Give us the feedback. If there's something you guys want us to talk about, reach out to us on our website at themizellshow.com. There is a contact section. You can put it in there. We would love to hear about it. Or you can always go over to Instagram at The Mizell Show. Also, as always, don't forget to screenshot this episode and just add it to your stories and tag us on Instagram, on Facebook at The Mizell Show. Thanks, guys. Are you loving The Mizell Show? Well, we love you all. And did you know that you can have me and Steven talk to your team or a group of 25 of your friends? All it takes is 25 people showing up on either a Zoom call, a Facebook Live, or really anywhere. Hopefully in person sooner rather than later. But how do you get us? So all you have to do is email themizellshow@gmail.com, or you can direct message us on Instagram at The Mizell Show.